how you might think about doing this within your own faith community. Just a little bit of background. I have been a planning commissioner, so I've been on the city side. My original training is as an urban planner. I've also done a stint on the governing board of my own faith community, right, at my church. I was on the parish council. So I've seen it from both sides and feel like this whole question about how do we house our neighbors well and treat them with respect and dignity as a faith community, how do we respond to that need in our community? For me, this is the nexus of many parts, passion projects of mine. Okay, so who are we? Just to give you a little bit of background, People for Housing is the YIMBY, or the Yes in My Backyard, right? You've heard about neighborhood pushback, sometimes referred to as NIMBY, not in my backyard. There was a movement in 2015, 2016, 2017, and we were founded out of that movement. We're a nonprofit organization. We advocate for housing at the low income, moderate income, all the way up to first-time home buyer housing. That's our sweet spot. We have a vision for a prosperous and integrated Orange County where everyone has access to safe, stable, and affordable homes near jobs, transportation, and high-quality educational opportunities. That's what we're working towards in the county. Our why. Oh, that didn't pop up for some reason. Okay. So I'm going to just put this to you, and you're in a faith-based space, and so I want to put to you that there is no difference in the sacred act of worship, right? Whatever your tradition, then the work that we are doing in worship in the sacred, it is the same work in the advocacy for affordable housing in the world, right? So I want us to think about this as a response to our own faith. Whatever our God calls us to, this is our response back. And so I would just say that there is no separation in the sacred acts of worship and the profane work, quote unquote, profane in the world of advocating for affordable housing. That this is our work together, right? This is our common liturgy. So I would just bring that into this space, and when you're thinking about that this is hard, and it is hard, it's hard, but we can do it, right? And with God, all things are possible. Okay, so how do you start to have this conversation in your own community? This is going to be a drip information campaign, right? This is not something that somebody proposes once, and everybody's like, oh yeah, this is a great idea, and then it takes off. It has to be a little bit at a time, over time, repeated, lather, rinse, repeat. So begin with the ministries and the spaces where people already are, and meet people where they're at, right? We heard great feedback from Reverend Bell about getting real with yourself, right? And if your congregation is one that is like, actually I like my suburban over here, and those people over there, it might not be a fit, or the time might not be now. But meeting people where they're at and having that honest conversation, I think, is so important. And it is exactly that. It is a conversation, right? It's conversations in lots of spaces. So let's talk about some of those spaces. All right, here we go. Okay, embed the message. First suggestion, embed the message. Incorporate themes of home and housing into existing messages or activities. Weekly sermons, if you have email messages that go out to your congregation. A devotional series, if you have a book study or a topic study in your congregation. You can host a special speaker series. I can connect you, or you can connect with anybody here about anyone who's willing to come and talk about their experiences, right? You can host a special event, and then again, repeatedly tie this back to your traditions, scriptures, your core values of justice, compassion, and love for your neighbor. Because at the end of the day, what all of our faith partners have shared is that this is absolutely mission-driven. And so remembering to tie it back to that. Okay, connected to existing ministries. If you are feeding the hungry, you are already in touch with the population that needs affordable housing. So you can't say, well, we have never really done that. Yes, you have. You know these folks. These are your neighbors. So people experiencing food insecurity are the same folks that are experiencing housing insecurity. So you can dispel the mean, you heard the supervisor say his adult children won't be able to probably buy a home here unless they have help. It's affecting people, and they're embarrassed to admit it. They're embarrassed to admit that, you know, their adult child that did everything right somehow won't be able to afford to come back to the community that they're from. Let's talk about it. So invite a separate time and space, a sacred time and space, where people can share how the housing shortage is affecting them. I think building that sense of vulnerability in a safe space, it builds community, right? What our biggest desire as human beings is to know that we're not alone, right? That's our biggest desire, is to know that we're not alone. So creating a space where people just in your congregation can talk about the impacts of the housing shortage on them, super important. Okay, recognize the widespread impact. I have some cartoons on here. For some reason, this is not loading the way it's supposed to. But in themes you might hear, our kids can't afford to buy a home here. We just heard that, right? Middle-income families, young adults, seniors. We heard from Supervisor Foley about all the older folks that are moving, rattling around in big homes that might be able to be occupied by families if there was housing available for seniors. So naming this truth, right? Naming the truth builds that momentum for taking action. And again, going back to the idea of action, right? Advocacy for affordable housing, whether it's your campus or there's an affordable development in your city, your act of support, of making a public comment at a city council meeting, or writing a letter of support for that development, or your campus, your faith community campus opening up and being willing to host, right, a new development, those are all acts of worship. You can think of them as an exercise in our common work of repairing the world. Okay, take a field trip. This is the next idea, right? You guys got to see it today. There is a ton of opportunity. Jamboree, National Corps, CNC, Mercy Housing, I mean, they will show you they'll show you their space. So finding something that's either in your city, right? Something else, like if you're in Yorba Linda, there's several developments in Yorba Linda, or another church campus. They will show you. Take your leadership, right? Take your leadership. So look at affordable housing in your existing city, explore other projects near you. Seeing is believing, right? When we hear a project, right, this is like, people think Robert Taylor Homes, Green from Chicago from, 50, 75 years ago. So not the case anymore. Okay, host reception. So this idea comes from an ask we had from a church in Laguna Beach. This time last year, they are doing what I believe is the first SB4 project in Orange County. It's called Neighborhood Congregational Church. And they called us up and they said, we need support from the community for this project. They had done a really good job of cultivating that support within their within their faith community, but they needed outside support. So they called us and we hosted in their space a mixer for people who are, yes, in my backyarders, right? These people who want to see other people in their community have affordable housing. So I want to tell you, it feels daunting. It is, and I know that it is. But there are people in the city where your parish is, or your synagogue, or mosque, or house of worship, that really do care about their neighbors. They care about their neighbors having affordable housing. And between myself and Cesar and a lot of the other organizations in the county, we can help you find those people. Explore our page. We have a whole page. We've been working on this issue since 2020, and it's called Maybe Yes in God's Backyard. We have a video series. We have an hour webinar about the project at Wesley Village. We have an hour webinar about this project and the one in Buena Park. So we're here for you. We would love to help you. We would love to be a partner, to walk alongside you and to help connect you with supporters of affordable housing in your community that maybe don't have any affiliation